everyone, I'm Leaf and welcome to my YouTube channel. Like the title says, today I will be explaining my character design process. I thought that now would be the perfect time to talk about character design because like many of you all, I'm preparing for Art Fight, which means I have been drawing a ton of ref sheets. Like so many ref sheets. Like way too many. Anyway, I will be drawing a ref sheet for my character Himi as an example of my design process. A quick disclaimer before we begin, I am by no means even close to a professional and this is just my process. But there are so many other ways you can go about character design. This is just how I do it. With that, let's begin. The first thing you need to design a character is an idea. It's hard to start designing a character from nothing, so we need a concept to help guide the design process. Trust me, having a goal for your character will help make everything easier since you have a general idea of what you should be aiming for. I get ideas for my characters in one of two ways. The first way is by seeing a cool picture and thinking, wow, I need to add that to a character. This was how my character Celine was born. I saw this really cool picture of a golden eyeball on Pinterest and I knew I needed to make a character around it immediately. And that's how I ended up with her. The second way I get an idea for a character is by thinking of roles in my story that need to be filled, or seeing a trope/personality I like and wanting to make a character around it. This is how I got my idea for Himi, the character in this video. I wanted to make a super girly princess character who also loves adventure and has a upbeat personality. Okay, so now we have our idea. A super girly princess character who also has a strong personality. What's next? Well, it's time to gather more inspiration and references. Our main concept gives us a nice starting point for what we should search for, but we still need more of a foundation before we can make a convincing design. My favorite spot for gathering references is Pinterest. I like the board and section system. It helps to keep me organized. I have also used Milanote in the past, not sponsored. I am way too small for that. But if you subscribe, maybe I can get sponsored sooner. Anyway, Milanote was good for the first couple times I used it, but the free version only lets you have 100 or so things on your boards, and I reached that max quickly. So I just use Pinterest now. Alright guys, so I'm just going to show you around my Pinterest board for my characters. This is where I like to keep track of all my references for my characters. So I made this overall character board here, and then I made sections for each of my characters. For example, here we have Himi. She's the character we're going to be drawing in this video today. In her reference board, I have poses I think she'd make, some armor suggestions here. Overall, just like the vibe I want her to give off. Clothes reference. Just making sure I have plenty of... Oh. I don't know if you can hear the garage, but it's right under me. Alright. So I have some like hair reference. I like to add face references on my board too. Just anything you might need when designing your character. And for those of you who want to use Milanote, here is an example of how I would set up a board for a character. This was Marin's reference board. I just inputted some design suggestions of like Zora from Zelda, because obviously that's what I was going for with his design. Some fish here for what his fins and scales should look like, and just some doodles I had in my sketchbook of him, as long as some jewelry suggestions to add. And that's all I added for Marin's reference board. I also ran out of space on my Milanote when making this, so I can't add anything else to this board, and that's kind of why I used Pinterest instead. Alright, look at us go. We have so many cool references to use to design our character. This is where the real fun begins. So grab your pencil, your paper or tablet, and let's get drawing. Alright, time to start drawing. When I start my rough sheets, I like to start with a simple 3/4 view. I find that drawing your characters in 3/4 view can really help sell like the 3D shapes in your design. So that's why I often choose to go with the 3/4 view over a front view. I find that front views can look kind of stiff. So when I'm drawing this 3/4 view, I know that this character, Hemi, will most likely be wearing a big puffy dress. So I like to keep what clothes they're gonna wear in mind when I'm making my rough sheets, so that their pose can show off their outfit the best. And I don't want her arms getting in the way of her dress. Alright, I think those are some pretty decent blockouts for a leg. So now I'm gonna draw her arms, and since her skirt is gonna be like that probably, I'm gonna try and keep that in mind when drawing her arms, to kind of keep them a little bit out of the way. That hand's kind of a little big. I would call that a pretty decent first sketch. So after I get this kind of rough first sketch done, then I like to go into my second sketch. And this is where I add stuff like the facial features and some more of the muscle structure. When you're drawing your rough sheet, you should try to make their face match their personality a bit. Since you don't have that much space on your rough sheet, it's nice to kind of convey their general personality. Alright, here comes the fun part. We can actually start designing her outfit. I'm gonna duplicate this layer so I can have a backup just in case I mess up. Alright, so I'm gonna start with her hair, since she's looking a little bald right now. Since Hemi is a princess, I'm gonna go for something kind of fancy. Hair is pretty good for now. I think it's alright. So when I'm designing clothes, I like to keep in mind what type of environment she's in and what she will be doing in the outfit. And for Hemi here, she lives in a really cold environment, so I want to give her some nice warm clothes. When I design my characters, I make sure not to take too much from a single reference. I use them just to inform some of my decisions. Remember, we want to make a new character, not copy someone else. In this stage, I explore some different outfits that could work for my character, but if I like what I draw the first time around, then I don't feel the need to make new iterations. This isn't for a professional project, it's just for me, so if I like it, I keep it. For Hemi, I went with a nice fancy dress here with a little capelet on top with a hood. I didn't want to do get too fancy of a princess because I imagine her walking around in this outfit. So I made sure not to make it too long so her feet still had room to move. Here I'm just adding a couple more details to the outfit and cleaning up my sketch to prepare my drawing for coloring. I don't like to do line art, so I make sure to take extra care can really clean up my sketch and make sure I'm happy with it before colors. When it comes to colors, I like to keep the color palette simple. As you can see, for the most part, my characters stick to 3 main colors. For Lauren, it's blue, purple, and brown. For Celine, I just used golden brown. And for Marin, I used orangey red and teal. I find that if you limit your colors, it will help make your design look more cohesive. Too many colors can become draining on the eyes and make your design look messy or unfocused. However, if you want to use a ton of colors, I would make the majority of your design one single color and use all the other ones as accent colors. The majority of your design being just the one color will help balance out all the other colors you use. Because making that one color desaturated will help balance out the amount of other colors you have. It will help bring the color palette together. For Himi here, I went with orange and blue because I think these colors look amazing together. Since I used blue for most of her design, making her hair red really helps draw attention to her face. And I love the way gold accents look on a blue dress, so I had to make her ribbons and details gold. I think they really pop. When I'm making my rough sheets, I like to make the front view just a little more detailed and rendered than my other drawings on my rough sheets. I like to be able to show more like the texture and materials of her outfit and like how her hair is rendered and stuff like that. I find that it helps make your design more readable, and for a reference sheet, that is very important. So if you're going to be adding shading like me to your front view, make sure it's not too crazy, just enough to help sell just what's going on in the outfit. Alright, rendering's looking pretty good. It took way longer than it should. I have been recording for 3 hours. I swear it doesn't usually take me this long. But yeah, now we're gonna go on to the back view. When I do back views, all I do is I take this front view, I duplicate it, and then I transform it just by the scale, flip it over like this. I like to make my back views a little bit smaller since I do them less detailed, like that. And then I get a color, fill it in, and that's my base for the back view. And from here, all I do is I put a layer on multiply over the top, and then all I do is start sketching the back. Alright, I think that hair is pretty good for now, so I'm going to go on to the clothes. So I can see here that this little dent in my silhouette here is the cloak. So I know that I need to bring this cloak around like this. Something like that anyway. And it's okay if your back view doesn't line up 100% with your front view, because this is not a reference for 3D modeling or anything. We don't need to be super accurate, we just need to get the idea across. So I'm gonna work on the cape. When you're doing the back view, you also need to remember anything that shows up in the front view as being in front will show up in the back view as being in the back. I hope that's not like obvious. But like this hand here, the thumb is in the front. So when we're drawing this hand from the back, we're gonna make sure that the thumb here is behind the pinky finger. I like drawing the back views on my characters. I find it a lot more simple than the front views since I already have this basic silhouette to work off of. And yeah, I can just kind of like zone out and just do it. I like doing back views. I feel like people are scared of them, but I've never found them that hard. So, I don't know. I like doing them. The hardest part of the back view is the feet, because this makes no sense from the back, because these are in two different perspectives. In the front view, the feet are going like this, right? They're pointing downwards. In the back view, we need the feet to go like that. So, unfortunately, we're gonna have to redraw the feet. Unfortunately, I don't have very many tips on how to draw the feet from the back. I'm not very good at it, so I just mess around until it somehow works out. Yeah, not very good of a tip, but that's all I got. I keep my back views way more sketchy than my front view because I don't think it's really necessary to clean it all up because they have a nice clean reference for the front view. So after I get my sketch done, I just do flat colors on my back view so people can color pick from here. And because I don't want to do all that rendering again, especially because the front view took 3 whole hours. Don't ask about this ribbon. We don't talk about this ribbon. Alright, I think that's a pretty good back view. And on my ref sheets, after I get a front and back view, I like to either add expressions or like some of my characters do magic, so like what they look like when they're doing magic, or just close-ups of little details. For example, I'm gonna add just this little symbol on her gloves out here to just show people a better idea what it looks like. Alright, I'm just gonna finish up my ref sheet. So yeah, this is just a part where you can add anything to it. After you get the basic front and back view, everything else is really up to you. Another thing when I'm adding these extra little details to my ref sheet is I like to come up here and hit window, canvas, new window, and then just drag it over here. And then I can have this view of my full body while I'm more zoomed in working on a different face over here. It helps just keep everything cohesive. While I'm finishing up my ref sheet here, I just want to say the most important thing to remember when designing your character is that they fulfill their purpose. For Himi, her purpose was to be a princess character to fill a role in my story, and I think she fits that role pretty well. If the purpose of your character is to make you happy and look cool, that's good too. We make our characters to express ourselves and to help share stories and ideas with others. So if they're doing that, you did a good job. And after all that hard work, me and you both have new characters. I hope you enjoyed learning more about my character design process, and I hope this video can help you guys make more characters in the future. If you designed a character with this video, I would absolutely love to see them. Make sure to tag me in your post if you share them on Instagram. And if you like this video and want to support a small artist trying to get started on YouTube, I would very much appreciate a like and a subscribe. I'm trying to save up for a new iPad, so I would really like to get these videos monetized. Thank you all so much for watching, and with all that being said, bye bye!